Kia ora, hello, welcome to Anyway, your weekly podcast full of reality TV chaos, coming to you from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I am your host, Natalie McMurray, and I have some scandal updates for you guys from the Summer House West Side Story of Scamanda. Queen Mia from Southern Hospitality told us on Watch What Happens Live that she and West went on a date, and that she met Amanda at BravoCon, and Amanda told Mia that her and West had pre-gamed their date at West's apartment, which was back in September. So that's super weird. We've seen Kyle Cook hooked up with Megan King, the detective that she is, after a Page 6 party last week. It was very strange to see him kiss her with his hands on her shoulders. Not really sure what that was all about. Perhaps he was just trying to get a leg up to her mouth because there is quite the height disparity between them. West went on his podcast and said that he wanted to clear up the timeline. And apparently, according to him, it started in February. But Andy confirmed that they're going back and re-editing episodes, which means there's related footage to be seen from last summer. So nobody believes that, West. West also said that he reached out to his castmates via text message, but he hasn't had a lot of responses. But according to KJ, West's friend that he brought onto Summer House, he hasn't heard jack shit. He's going back to check his text messages. He also said that the internet's a very scary place to be, so now he's coming for us. You two put yourselves in this position. I've seen 1,000,001 Instagram posts about the two of them attending a baseball game. I think it was baseball. Was it baseball? I don't know. I honestly have no idea. Sports is not my thing. Anyway, they were at some sports game thing where they subjected everyone around them to a weird, gross kiss that seemed to play out in slow motion everywhere I saw it. It's heavily speculated that after the weird, gross kiss, Amanda apparently says, "Act like you like me," which we can all agree is desperate as fuck and so sad. After that, there was footage of them from behind where West was standing up and celebrating something to do with sports. And Amanda starts pulling on his pants for him to sit down because I guess she was embarrassed. To which I say, why are you there if you're embarrassed for people to see you? Kyle was right. Amanda, not fun. Why would it be any different when it comes to sports? Anyway, she's sitting with her feet on the seat in front of her, which has a person sitting on it who can't fully lean back on their seat because this motherfucker has her gross-ass boots on it. I actually can't with that. Also, West is standing up and waving his arms around in front of a bunch of other people trying to watch the game. I get that he's trying to celebrate, but you're blocking everybody else's view. Celebrate sitting on your ass. Together they make the ultimate menace to society. For that reason alone, they should break up. And my guess is they're going to attend the reunion together, then I give it a month, because West isn't going to break up with her straight after. I'd say give it 1 or 2 months, and then they will be done. It's kind of hard to imagine him going from dating 5 to 10 women, or however many he was supposedly dating, to going to a serious committed relationship like that. Sorry, Amanda, the reunion taping is today, so let's hope as we speak, West is being pulverized by the words of Mother Hubbard. Meanwhile, Ciara stays winning. She's on the cover of Glamour magazine, and it's just been announced that she will be on Dancing with the Stars. We love to see it. Anyway, let's discuss Summer House episode 12. We open with Amanda saying to Ciara, "You are seen. I see you," which we all know she does not. There's a cruel irony in Amanda sitting across from Ciara in a Boys Lie sweatshirt, although I doubt Amanda will be getting any more free shit from them, since I saw on Instagram that they gave a shout out to Ciara to contact them. I'm sure someone at Boys Lie asked Amanda to immediately stop wearing their shit as soon as they found out about the scandal. Amanda then says, "You deserve so much more respect than what you get." This bitch, seriously. I'm a minute and 10 seconds in and she's already working my last nerve. Everything that she says is self-serving. She may as well be saying it into a mirror because she's telling herself those things. Because the way that she calls him a fucking idiot after was all to do with her own feelings for West. I also hate the way she slaps Ciara's ass when she walks off, and then she starts twerking in Mia's face. Is anything computing, Amanda? Where's her factory reset button? Everyone is getting ready to go out. Ben is acting like Sabrina's dad. yelling at her to get ready. I never felt much attraction to Ben to begin with, but any that I did have has completely dissipated. We then see them out at Common Ground where Kyle is DJing, and Amanda is in the booth with him, and I'm like, why? Why is she in there? She's never supported this man's DJ career. Clearly she's just there for the attention, which tracks. Ugh. The next day we see Mia talking about how she's been dreaming of her parents recently, and that for the last year she's just been doing what she can to survive since losing her mum. But she says her mum wouldn't want her to sit on TV and cry. She would want her to live and enjoy her life. KJ and Dara are talking about their relationship. These two are super cute together. KJ tells us that he's been hurt in friendship and relationships before, so he naturally has a wall up. I am very interested in what KJ has to say in regard to his friendship with West at the reunion. Downstairs, Carl has ordered an absolute feast for breakfast. And I know all of the other men on Bravo are pieces of shit, and Carl used to be one of those men, but after seeing that breakfast, I'm over here thinking, how the hell is Carl still single? Dara comes in to talk to Ciara and Mia. She says West got obliterated last night, and the only thing he could talk about was Ciara. Mia says West is in the doghouse, and Dara wants him to tighten it up. Yeah, to say the least, right? Ultimately, Ciara says she just doesn't want to be bamboozled again. And I'm over here daydreaming about Mia, Dara, and Lindsay ripping into West at the reunion like he deserves. West then tells us that his main objective every day is don't upset Ciara, don't hurt her feelings. Are we supposed to believe this shit? I wouldn't even believe that pre what we've recently found out. Who the fuck do you think you're kidding, West? Also, the fact that he thinks he has such a big impact on Ciara's life annoys the fucking crap out of me. You are not that significant. Ben's in dad mode again, yelling at Sabrina to come into the room and pack up her stuff. West comes into Ciara's room and gives her a half-assed apology for being a shitty friend. This honestly feels like something he does on a regular basis in his life. Also, put a fucking shirt on. I've had enough of those droopy-ass nipples. Ciara says, let's just not be friends. But he keeps pushing the issue, saying it's harder for him, blah, blah, blah. And I'm about to fly into a blind rage. He's whinging and whining about the awkwardness and the pretending not to know each other and that it takes a lot out of him. You are not the victim here. What is actually happening? Ciara says she doesn't have much more to offer him right now. After that, they all drive back to the city. Then we see Ciara, Mia, and her brother Nick meeting up to see a medium. Mia tells us that she wants to get closure when it comes to her mother because she never got to say a proper goodbye. The medium tells them that their grandmother and their mother are here with them, and that her mother has been trying to reach Mia in her dreams. Mia starts crying, Ciara is crying, and then I start crying. We see West arriving at a dog foster and adoption volunteer event where Amanda and Kyle meet him. Amanda talks to West about how she's disappointed in him for disrespecting Ciara. Amanda also tells him not to go silent and to apologize. He did, and his apology sucked. This whole situation is so laughable. Then we see everyone heading back to the Hamptons, and Dara tells us that KJ asked her to be his girlfriend, so now they're exclusive. When they arrive at the house, KJ makes a Sheryl Crow Soak Up the Sun reference, which I love. He's hoping they revive Lilith Fair, and KJ gets a ticket. Kyle says Amanda is on the struggle bus, and apparently she won't be coming to the house this weekend, which is kind of a relief to hear, for me. Ciara and Mia are big sistering KJ about his update with Dara. Ciara then goes upstairs and calls Amanda. She says the ratio of men to women is 7-3, and she's gonna kill her. Also, in retrospect, kind of shitty of Amanda not to show up for Ciara when she knows what's going on between her and West. Amanda says she can't do it. Apparently she's been showing up as the joyful, bubbly Amanda this whole summer. I don't believe I've met that Amanda, but okay. Sometimes you should just own if you're a mopey ass bitch. She says she needs alone time. Wah, wah, wah. West then finds it appropriate to knock on Ciara's door and interrupt while she's on FaceTime with Amanda. He gives another bumbling half-ass apology. He also started with, this will take 3 seconds. And I'm sure that's what everybody wants to hear when they're about to get an apology. How short it will be. I then spot West wearing a Boys Lie hat, so I guess they're trolling everybody with these clothes. Ciara says she doesn't hate West, and she finds it exhausting to put up a front like she does. She goes into his room and asks if he wants to catch up for coffee the next morning. They all go out to party, and then we see them coming back home. Seemed like straight away, but clearly wasn't. We then see Levi's cardboard cutout standing by the door. And at this point, you may as well throw her the fuck out of the door, because that's what the editors have done to her on this show. They've left her on the cutting room floor. Sorry, Levi. Another thing is, Kyle actually comes back with everybody else, which is pretty unusual. He's having a fucking blast because his wife is nowhere to be seen. I'm not saying that I have any sympathy for Kyle, because the way that he's treated Amanda over the years is gross, but I can see why he would have more fun without her. I'm actually surprised he was with her for that long. Like, why didn't he just break up with her? He should definitely be single. He doesn't have the emotional maturity to be in a relationship. Neither does she, clearly. We then see everybody getting ready for their boat day. Ciara and Wes leave early to have their chat. Ciara starts by saying that she's scared to be nice to him because she doesn't want to be embarrassed. She says, and that's exactly what he did last weekend. She then says that one of the most hurtful things was him saying to the press that they weren't each other's people, when she considered him to be her best friend at the time. And she doesn't call people her best friend lightly. He sits there with a stupid meek look on his face and says things like, yeah, that makes me sad. Wes says that they were both under attack by the public, and that's where he was coming from. Ciara then apologizes for not being there for him. She then says the public nature of their relationship muddies the feelings between them, and Wes says it builds resentment. We see Ciara crying, and Wes pretends to wipe away a tear. Wes says to Ciara, I see you more. Cue the disturbing violin music. Obviously, Wes does not see Ciara. I feel like saying that and then doubling down on the betrayal is worse than not saying it at all. The episode then ends with them hugging for a long while, and Wes saying, I knew you weren't going to make out with Jesse. And they both laugh. Ciara says she was pissed that he said he didn't care. At this point, I feel like I just want to watch the reunion and be done with the whole thing. Because it's pretty disturbing to watch these people say that they see Ciara knowing that they did this shit. Anyway, moving on to Ladies of London. We see the ladies all packing, and then we see Emma preparing everything at Longleat for their arrival. On the car ride, we see Margot yet again complaining about Mark, Francis, and Kimmy, which is getting pretty tiresome. She's literally putting Bissay to sleep with her BS. Not one of these ladies thinks Margot understands British humour. Me included. The ladies arrive at Longleat, and it is truly stunning. They go through the gates, and then they drive down the massively long driveway to meet Emma. And all I can hear is ba 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 ba. Did that sound like Jurassic Park? Because that's what I was trying to do. They wander through part of the park and come across the red pandas. Martha wants to take Lionel the red panda home, and Mark Francis wants to turn him into an accessory. To which I say, you better run, Lionel, before you end up living in the most gilded home in London wearing a sailor suit, or with a psychotic eyeball-pecking magpie named Hecate. They then board a boat to see more sights. They float past the gorilla enclosure. Emma compares the gorilla to Mark. Margot says Mark does a lot of posturing, but it's more like a chimpanzee than a gorilla, inferring that chimpanzees do not pose as much of a threat and are perhaps not as strong as a gorilla. What Margot doesn't seem to realize is that chimpanzees are very strong. They are more volatile and aggressive than gorillas. They're also omnivores as opposed to herbivores. A chimpanzee could rip your face off if it wanted to, Margot. Never forget that. And while you're at it, respect the wild animals of this world, Mark Francis included. They then feed the sea lions, which leaves me wondering, what kind of sea environment is this for them? They're in a river, which I can only assume is fresh water. I guess they don't need salt water, and they are being fed. But it makes you wonder. I mean, none of the animals in any zoo are really in their natural habitat, so what the fuck do I know? Anyway, Emma says that Longleat is the first safari park outside of Africa, and they conduct a lot of research there. She also says that they're doing an IVF project to try and bring back an extinct species of rhino, the northern white African rhino, which would be pretty amazing if they succeeded. Very Jurassic Park. I do wonder if they did successfully bring them back, could they live or survive in the environment they used to though? I fear I'm getting a little too existential here. The ladies are shown to their cottages that they will be staying in, and Mark Francis will be staying in the pub, which is not his usual digs. But in this instance, he's pretty happy to be nowhere near Margot. Lottie talks to Margot and Micah about the car ride to Longleat. She says theirs was pretty entertaining. We then flash back to highlights from the ride. Mark Francis seems to think that having a child wear designer outfits is obtuse and obscene. But apparently the sailor outfits that his parents forced him to wear to the age of 6 were A-OK. Lottie says that she thinks turkey is abhorrent as a Thanksgiving protein. And we then see a snippet of Mark's German. 9! Lottie seems to think that her and Mark bonded in the car. Margot continues to bitch and moan about Mark. At this point, Margot really needs to build a bridge. Mark Francis is really living in her head rent-free. Lottie points out that Margot is wearing a tank top with nipple tassels, which really boggles the mind, and is certainly going to do her no favours. Lottie is only just beginning to wonder whether Margot likes all of this drama and attention. Lottie, you just pointed out the fact that she's wearing nipple tassels on her top. What are the point of those nipple tassels if not to garner attention? She's not wearing them for the sea lions. They all arrive at afternoon tea, and Micah is telling a few of the ladies about her upcoming event. Margot then says, "Wow, you're just like the Martha Stewart of etiquette." Margot then proceeds to grab a tiered cake plate and start eating it, showing that she's the Chevy Chase of etiquette. Margot says, like many things in British society, you will be judged on whether you go cream or jam first on your scone. Because we all know that the people of the United States of America are in fact the least judgmental of all nations. Kimmy loves British culture, aka drinking. She tells us that when you go to the countryside, you start with a drink on the way. You arrive, have drinks at tea, then pre-dinner drinks, drinks at dinner, then you go back to your room and have more drinks. How this woman finds the energy to do anything is totally beyond me. Mark is offended by Margot's VPL, visible panty line. And to be honest, I don't really consider what we're seeing on Margot a VPL. A VPL is more where you can see the underwear outline but not the actual underwear. It's usually something the wearer is unaware of. Margot is wearing a transparent dress, which means it's purposeful. And lots of women wear transparent dresses. Mark Francis is being a bit of a prude about the situation. Micah then comes over and says her underwear is loose. And Mark Francis starts laughing, saying she's owning her underwear. Which Margot is too, Mark, to be fair. I don't like the fact that I'm now sticking up for Margot. Miss A moves over to where Margot is sitting, just to stir the pot. And she lets Margot know everything Mark was just saying about her. Emma is pissed that these women are ruining her trip. She basically says, just let Mark make himself look bad then. And I agree, that's who he is. Accept it or do not. Everyone else seems to see him for the way that he is, and they're okay with it. If he looks like an asshole, that's on him. Martha pops over to Mark to ask him to have a chat with Margot. He's all, not a shit show in hell. He's not doing it. Margot then starts yelling at him to come over, which is not the way to get Mark to engage. In fact, he's disengaging, just like Meredith Marks. Kimmy calls Margot a bitch, and that's where the episode ends, which takes us to Southern Hospitality, episode 8. We open with Mia putting on some shades, and zapping her bikini line was what I can only assume is some type of laser hair removal machine. She's like, zap, whoa, zzz, ah, that's hot, zap, oh my god, zzz, ay, chihuahua. She's reminding me of the scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin where Steve Carell's character gets his chest waxed. And in one of the clips, he just screams, "Ah, Kelly Clarkson!" Not an activity for the faint of heart, especially on camera. She FaceTimes TJ, and TJ and Michaels are in the Big Apple. TJ gets full sassed by a New Yorker who's all, "Hey, I'm walking here." He's shocked. I guess you're not in Charleston anymore, TJ. Michaels arrives at his meeting for the magazine shoot that he did for So Dog Gay, and he's feeling himself. The person in the meeting says that there was going to be a brand deal with some dating app, but apparently Michaels was banned from said dating app. He says he has no idea why. Come to find out, it's probably because he was posting nudes. We see Maddie come over to Joe Bradley's house to talk to him about their fight. Maddie tells him that he needs to rein it in, and Joe responds with, "What do you want me to be, a prisoner?" Which results in the editors putting a blink, 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 blink over Maddie's taken aback face. Good lord, this man does himself no favors. Joe Bradley thinks that passive aggression will mend this fight. And Maddie is all, "You're living in Delululand, Joe." He thinks it's crazy that Maddie is attacking him, which she isn't, on his birthday week. She says, "Joe, it's my birthday week too." Guys, there's no such thing as a birthday week. It's birthday. Anyway, they hug it out. I did hear somewhere, maybe Watch What Happens Live, that Joe had stopped drinking for a while, so good for him. Over at Republic, TJ struggles to wink. And Lake says that she has a date, which is a girl, for Joe's emo party. She says fish tacos for life, and Emmy is all mahi mahi? She doesn't get it. Emmy's living as an uptown girl in her white bread world. She sees no one. The only issue is she's not looking for a downtown man. Emmy just wants to go to law school prom. Brad's girlfriend Julia gives him a call at home, and Julia is pissed. She just went to the hair salon. And because I've had so many traumatizing experiences at a hair salon, I'm thinking, oh no, they've completely fucked up her hair. Because she said she was going to an emo party and now they've given her a massive side swooping fringe or something. Turns out something much more expected has happened. Emmy has been talking shit to everybody in Charleston about Brad. Emmy apparently recounted the whole hotel drama to her hairstylist and said Brad was drunk and stalking her, banging on her hotel room while she was naked in the bathroom. Emmy in her testimonial says the reason she was being so dramatic is because no one will listen to her. I honestly wish I was one of those people not listening. I'm sick of listening. And you've basically just admitted that you're lying because nobody is listening and it's triggering your childhood trauma. Now I know what's in the bag. Ritalin. Next season, she's going to come on and tell us that she has a Ritalin addiction, a la Craig from Southern Charm. Wait for it. They're all getting ready for the emo party and there's a lot of guy liner being applied. Speaking of Craig, Justin is wearing his normal clothes. Mia is giving me Shannon Sossaman from the early 2000s. She's got more of a punk rock hipster vibe going on. And Brad is wearing a Beatles wig. He looks like Ringo Starr in a mesh crop top. I don't know what's happening. Neither does he. He has no idea what emo means, nor what it is. Mia is embarrassed because she didn't realize the brief was sexy goth and not funny goth. Mia? It's not goth at all. It's emo. Rooted in goth, but not goth. Do any of these people have Google? I've also never heard of funny goth. Unless we're talking about Richmond from the IT crowd. We then see Joe Bradley applying fake eyelashes to his brother, which makes me so uncomfortable. He's definitely about to stab him in the eye with those tweezers. I also don't think many men wore fake eyelashes in the emo days. The only one that comes to mind is Davey Havoc from AFI, and I feel like that's pretty hard to pull off. Perhaps metaphorically and figuratively speaking. We arrive at the RIP Joe's 20s party. We see Lake, her date, Emmy and Bella arriving, and they're looking like they're straight from the movie The Craft, which again is not emo. It's from the 90s. Great movie. Love it. And love the look. But I'm convinced not one of these people know what emo is. Maddie is dressed as Avril Lavigne? ? And I'm pretty sure everyone knows what I'm about to say, but Avril Lavigne was not part of the emo phase. She was supposed to be punk, or punk pop, I guess you'd call it. Joe arrives and meets the founders of Emo Night. Maddie asks him if he painted his own nails. She says they look horrible. He says the definition of punk rock is not giving a fuck what other people think. Joe, why didn't you just have a punk rock party? Because not even you know what emo is. Emo stands for emotional. Yes, the roots are in punk, but the personality of the movement was more associated with being introverted, shy, and emotionally vulnerable. Not really not giving a fuck. Anyway, Joe tells us that he does give a fuck what people think, and he's invited Leva to his party. But he's convinced that she's not going to take him seriously. And Leva is pissed that he didn't do the event at one of her establishments, which is pretty selfish. Perhaps he didn't want to feel like he was at work on his birthday, Leva? Jeez. Lake and some of the girls are up at the bar ordering a drink, and I do a double take because I spot Charlie from Southern Charm. Maybe this is where her and Justin met. Still I say, run Charlie! Maddie confirms that she did indeed dress like Avril Lavigne. And then she gives Emmy shit for her outfit, saying that she dressed like Britney Spears in the Baby One More Time video. Maddie says that's not emo. I agree, but as I've already said what feels like upwards of 100 times now, None of you are dressed as emo. Lake and her date Nessa are very much like that episode of Broad City where Alana falls in love with Aaliyah Shawkat's character. Alana says to Abby, I don't know what it is that I like so much about her. And Abby says to Alana, she looks exactly like you, which sends Alana into a spiral. Michaels and TJ agree with me by saying that they look related. There's nothing wrong with being attracted to someone who looks like you. In fact, I think more often than not people are. There's been studies done on it, I'm pretty sure. Unless you're getting body parts confused, which happens on that episode of Broad City. Lake then also agrees. She says, maybe I love myself. Nothing wrong with that. We see Ocean, aka the milkman, arrive, who was on past seasons of Southern Hospitality. And this Irishman causes quite a stir. Apparently, him and Lake hooked up after law school prom last year. We also see Sally from Southern Charm. I guess Charleston is pretty small. Justin is talking to his new friend Charlie, so obviously not where they met. She asks him, do I normally look like I would come to an emo night? The answer is no, none of you do. I don't believe any of you really have the mindset. Justin says they found love in a hopeless place. And I would ask that we don't bring Riri into this. Turns out they met in the Instagram DMs. He also says to Charlie, I'm getting the love bomber accusations. Which is funny because Craig accused her of love bombing him. That will never not be funny to me. Lake is calling Mia a bitch to her date, which doesn't seem like a fun time. Mia tries to pull her outside for a chat because she can't deal with the energy. But Lake just wants to get drunk and have fun, even though she's over here calling her a bitch. Mia is pissed. Lake is pissed. And they start putting hands in faces. Lake says that Mia is like Jennifer in Jennifer's body. She's beautiful, but she's psycho. Yeah, Jennifer is psycho in Jennifer's body because she's possessed by a demon and turns into a succubus. Meanwhile, Mia just wants you to stop calling her a bitch at somebody else's birthday party. Julia approaches Emmy and asks her for a chat. She says, I've heard you were defaming Brad's name. Emmy says that she never said he was banging on her door. She wasn't screaming, and now she's not doing this. Emmy talks a mile a minute, and that's coming from a fast talker. She wants to know if Julia is trying to make her look crazy. And I'm here to say that nobody else is doing that but yourself. Emmy needs to get a fucking grip. On what? I'm not sure. Perhaps one of those Ritalin. She says, he called me a dumb bitch, which he did not. We then see that she's conflating two different text messages. Emmy saying that she doesn't get to feel the way that she feels is irony, because she's not letting Brad feel his feelings. She says that his actions were detrimental to her mental health, but yet her actions are extremely detrimental to Brad's mental health. Julia says you will never get it because you're a white privileged ass bitch. Julia is done. Emmy then says, send your girlfriend to fight your battles. And what exactly is Brad supposed to do? Fight you himself when you keep saying you're scared of him? Give you more ammo to come after him? Give it a fucking rest, Emmy. Julia then tells Brad what happened, and he has a loyal-ass girlfriend, which he appreciates. Emmy is in panic mode yet again. She needs a cigarette. Bella is telling her to drop it, and she's all, absolutely not. She's flabbergasted at the suggestion. She wants to talk to Brad. Too bad Brad is disengaged. Michael says Emmy just wants to be right, which is facts. They get back to emoing as best as they know how at emo night. The night seems to be a success, but Lever still finds a way to shade Joe by saying he was smart to partner with people who knew what they were doing, being the emo night guys. We end with Joe Bradley giving a speech and shoving his face into a black cake. He says, "Are you proud of me now, Papa?" Which reminds me of Todd, the son from Wedding Crashers. I have no idea if that's who Joe is referring to, but Todd does have a particularly emo look to him. More than any of these people on emo night, anyway. And with that, we arrive at House of Villains Season 3, Episode 10, which is the last episode of the season, which makes me sad. I'm going to miss these beautiful dummies. Also, while watching the previously on section, I've only just realized that Plain Jane's entrance look is based on Erica Jane's look from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Berlin trip. How did I miss that? Where she almost gets run over by a cyclist? Love it. Anyway, back to the mansion. It's morning time and we see Tiffany, Paul, and Christine in the kitchen. They're celebrating because they're down to the final 5. Meanwhile, Drita is upstairs calling a hit on Muppet Puppet Tyson. 2 wise guys creep into the mansion and take him away. He's now sleeping with the fishes. Joel comes over the loudspeaker and says it's time for the last Battle Royale challenge. They go up to the rooms to get ready, and they've been given a hard hat and a high-vis vest to wear. Drita had her hopes set on a Great British Bake Off challenge. Sorry, Drita, Paul Hollywood will not be giving you a handshake today. Tiffany wants to know why Joel insists on fucking up her hair with every challenge outfit, but ultimately she thinks it's cute. And she's right. She looks downright adorable as a construction worker. She says it's anybody's game at this point. I kind of disagree. No offense to New York, but she's never been good at a challenge. Plus, she needs to come back for next season. Who else will look after the mansion in the downtime? They arrive at the construction challenge, and Kate already can't wait for it to be over. The name of the challenge is Screwed Over. The villains have to climb onto a giant screw and hold on. Whoever stays on wins. Tiffany says she's privy to a screw, and she's going to get to huffing and puffing. Jill says before they get started, he thinks they need a bigger construction crew. We then see all the past villains come on out. Jackie, Plain Jane, Ashley, Johnny, Tom, and Tyson. And they're here to screw the still competing villains over. They each get to step up and make one of their screws faster, thus making it harder for them to hold on. Joel then says if you win the challenge, you also get to choose one of your competitors to bring to the final. The other 3 will battle it out in the final redemption challenge. They mount their screws. Tyson says he's here to screw over Paul because he's petty. He says that's why in some forums and fan circles, they call him Mother. And I'm confused. Perhaps he's just been hanging out with Plain Jane too much and is trying to reach out to the younger generation with what he would call hip lingo. But the term mother has nothing to do with being petty. In fact, it's the exact opposite. And as far as I'm aware, Tyson, you've never displayed mother behavior. The screw starts spinning. Drita is holding on for dear life. Ashley is the first to screw someone. She chooses Kate. Kate's screw gets faster, and Ashley screams probably the first one she's had in years, which doesn't even make sense. In this moment, I'm glad Ashley got mono and left the show. Kate says she's unbothered by pretty much everything, but that she wants to win this because she's fueled by revenge and money. And I get it. Jackie is up to screw, and she chooses Paul. Paul says joke is on her because he actually chose to keep her, which is a lol. Then we have Plain Jane, and she says, I've never done something like this before, but I'm choosing to screw a woman. Christine, because she loves a fast screw. Johnny chooses New York. Tom chooses Kate, and Kate's about to vom. And she's down. She's not screwing no more. Drita says she's the only one that didn't get screwed over. So her screw is going the slowest. They're all holding on, and Joel tells them that they have to move down to the smaller footholds. They all start moving down, and New York falls. She's out. Paul falls. He's out. Plain Jane says Christine's foot is slipping. But no. That bitch is up there doing ballet poses. Drita falls, and Christine wins. Drita says she's upset she didn't win, but she's happy that Christine did, because she knows that Christine has her back. They all arrive back at the mansion, and the banished villains let themselves on in. Kate calls them attention-starved beasts. Plain Jane comes to confront Kate about her voting playing out, but Kate isn't buying into any of it. The cameras then leave the room, and Kate is all, should we keep doing this scene, or are you done? Plain Jane follows the cameras. Tom and Tyson are upstairs on the super bed declaring how much they missed each other. It's been like one day. Calm down. They're ready for a slumber party. Jackie says she has no idea what FOMO is, even though she just said that she's had it not being in the house. So I guess at least she knows how to use it correctly. Joel comes over the loudspeaker and says it's time for the final hit list ceremony. We then see Christine and Drita together in the supervillain suite. Drita wants to keep Christine away from all the other little maggots that are going to chirp in her ear. Christine says she wants one of them to win the game. So she tells Drita that she's going to pick her to be in the top 3 with her. That is, until Paul comes down the stairs. While Drita's in the shower, he decides he's going to have a little chat with Christine. Paul says everyone loves Drita and everyone wants her to win. He says your best shot at winning is probably to be against me, because we both rubbed people the wrong way. Now Christine is questioning her decision, and she should be. Paul raises a great point, one I'm sure she thought of before he said it. We see Tiffany in a confessional, and she has an issue I've noticed a lot on reality TV recently. Her ill-fitting denim top, which doesn't fit her boobs correctly. The boob bits are too small for the boobs. I noticed Lala had a similar thing in her Valley testimonial, and I've seen it in a couple of other places. I can't really think where. Probably on Love is Blind. Can we get these ladies some well-fitted boob cups, please? I assume these clothes aren't cheap, but who knows? Joel says, villains and rejected villains, please come to the Stronghold spaceship. They enter and Christine takes her chair. Her robe is very Jenna Lyon's bathrobe at the Real Housewives of New York season 15 reunion, except more villainous. It's great. Christine's first nomination on the hit list is Tiffany, and she gives us a production. She tells us this is her fate. She fights her way back. She says, standing here means absolutely motherfucking nothing. Standing up on the hit list, that is. Second person up is Paul. Paul says he's not mad because he wants to earn a spot in the top 3. Christine says her third decision is the hardest one yet, that she needs to think about herself. She says she knows this person can win, and she puts Drita up. Needless to say, Drita is absolutely pissed. Drita is heartbroken. She says, I kept it 100 the whole time I was here, which she did. She's a loyal ass bitch. Kate is in the final 3 with Christine. She's shocked, confused, and excited. Kate takes me right back to my 14-year-old self when she flicks her jacket off, Matrix style. Drita says, good for you. She chose you because you're the most hated in the fucking house. Kate says, I know. That's what happens when you're fucking cool. Correct. I want Kate to win because she's probably done the most actual work while she's been here. Not because she wanted to, but because she had to. But I don't love her odds. Drita says, I don't like to be fooled, and Christine fooled her. She then calls her a rat bitch. We are getting full-on mob wives Drita now. Everyone is going to bed. Everyone except Tom Sandoval. He's in the bathroom doing cameos. He's a cyborg that never sleeps. I don't know who Mallory is, but I certainly hope she didn't pay too much hard-earned cash for that cameo. Surely the only person buying Sandoval cameos are people getting them for their friends as jokes on their birthday or something, right? The next morning, Jackie and Christine are talking. Christine is crying because she didn't want to put Drita up. Jackie says, you did this shit, and I'm on your side. Which is kind of crazy because Drita was the only one that voted to save Jackie. So if Drita gets to the top 3, I would have thought Jackie would definitely vote for her to win. Joel says it's time to get ready for the final redemption challenge, and that the villains should dress like they're going to a fancy award show. Kate has lost all of her underwear, and Plain Jane has lost her tits. She's left them behind at the hotel. How did she manage to do that? They're her biggest asset. Or is that her ass? Tiffany tells us she has butterflies because she wants to win so bad. She says season 1 was a bust. Season 2, she lasted pretty long but didn't win. And she doesn't want history repeating itself. And while she's talking, in a flashback, I spot Monica Garcia from season 4 of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Monica's Monica was Reality Von Tease, which was an account that basically trolled all the other cast members of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City after they found out they refused to film with her, thus leading to her departure from the show. After giving my husband a very thorough breakdown of the whole situation, he felt inclined to tell me about Kevin Durant and his many burner accounts. Allegedly, with these accounts, he criticized his teammates, saying things like, Katie can't win with those cats about the Oklahoma City Thunder. He also referred to Russell Westbrook as a triple-double cocaine bear. I have no idea what that means, but apparently Kevin Durant is still doing it. All of that to say, I always knew NBA players were just like Real Housewives. Apart from all the Twitter dick pics, that is. Anyway, Christine is getting in the car after they've all been waiting for her to get ready for 5 hours, according to Drita. And she wants the car ride to be fun and not all serious. She says, let's not make this totally awkward. She's met with resounding silence. Christine then says she wants to talk to Drita. And Drita pops the fuck off. New York says Drita really needs to shut the fuck up and focus on her gameplay and strategy. Christine's move to put up her roommate made Tiffany salivate. They arrive at the challenge. They're at an award show called The Backstabbies. The 3 on the hit list come out onto the stage and the rest are in the audience. For the challenge, everyone received an awards ballot and filled it out in private. The three need to guess which villain won which award based on how the house voted. Whoever guesses the most wins. Simple. That person then becomes part of the top three. First category is the last person you would want as your challenge partner. They all pick New York, and they all get a point. Also, I see for the award categories that they've used the font Papyrus. And all I can think about is Ryan Gosling screaming, Papyrus! If you haven't watched that SNL skit, do yourself a favor and go watch it. Next category, who is the most likely to buy followers? Paul and Tiffany put Christine, but Drita puts Tom Sandoval. I thought of him immediately. I honestly don't think Christine needs to buy followers. She was pretty popular on Selling Sunset. Drita gets the point. Plain Jane clocks it. She looked up Tom on Instagram and he has 1 million followers. She says there's no way they can be real. And if they are, they're real fucking stupid. I couldn't agree more. Third category is biggest crybaby. Drita puts herself. Tiffany puts Christine. And Paul puts Ashley. Ashley says she never cried. And I'm here to say, nobody cares whether you did or not. Ashley was too busy shoving her head up Johnny's ass for anyone to give a shit about what she was doing. Anyway, Drita wins that point. Next category is person who can't land a joke. Tiffany says Tyson. She calls him a chicken finger. I don't know why, but it made me chuckle. Drita also puts Tyson. Paul puts Tom. Drita and New York get the points. Who gave Tyson a podcast when he can't land a joke to save himself? I swear to God, they'll give a podcast to anyone these days. My husband feels the need to point out that they don't give out podcasts, a fact I'm all too aware of. But in this case, the House of Villains official podcast was given to him. Next category is most likely to be excluded from the group chat when the season has ended. New York chooses New York. Paul says Christine. And Drita says Tyson. But they're all wrong. The answer is Kate. Kate then says there's nothing better than leaving a group chat. It's so passive-aggressive. She tells us that she left her own family's group chat once. Something we wish we could all do at one point or another. Paul is out. He says he always gets so close and then he fumbles it at the end. And that he should be studied for that reason. I didn't see Paul on Big Brother, so maybe he's referring to that. Because in this game, he doesn't seem to have come close to much at all. Being in the top 5 doesn't make you close to winning in my book. Final category is the fakest person. Drita is tied between putting down Christine and Tyson. She's trying not to get clouded by her own bias. She goes with her gut and puts Christine. New York puts Plain Jane because she's suspicious of that ass and those titties. Plain Jane says, honey, these are real. Drita wins and joins the top 3 with Christine and Kate. We see Paul and New York's Muppet Puppet dolls being evicted from the house via the janky-ass banishment chairs that have probably broken a neck or two. Back to the mansion, Drita is stoked, as she should be. Plain Jane, not so much. She's over it. And by over it, she means her outfit, not the cameras. Just to be clear. Ashley is giving an impassioned speech in the testimonial chair. And she says something about people voting her out, to which a producer then corrects her by saying, nobody voted you out. Your body voted you out, Ashley. Sorry about it. We see Tyson and Tom maxing relaxing in their super bed upstairs, waiting for the top 3 to come to them. And Christine is the only one scrambling. Drita doesn't need to, and there's no way in hell Kate wants to. Jackie, Ashley, and Johnny are in the kitchen, and Jackie wants to know why Johnny would vote Drita over Christine. Johnny says Drita would treat him like family if they saw each other in real life. Eddie does an impression of Christine not knowing who the fuck he is if he were to run into her on the street. And honestly, I found it funny. The only time that man has ever made me laugh. I kind of like post-game loser Johnny. I immediately regret saying that. Jackie is still saying she's going to vote for Christine. I'm confused. Apparently loyalty doesn't go both ways with her. Tyson explains to us why all 3 of them deserve to win, and that they've each had a very different strategy. But ultimately his vote is going to go for the person who explains their strategy and shows why they did the things they did. Tiffany shades Drita's cooking yet again. She says she's not voting for Drita because all she did was try and fatten everyone up. She says this is the House of Villains, not Hansel and Gretel. Jill tells everyone to get ready for the final banishment ceremony. And I'm reminded back to the time when Tom Sandoval brought up Kaiser Soze and how epically he fucked up that reference. If anyone is Kaiser Soze here, it's Christine. She's been masterminding this shit. We then see a producer pull Kate for a chat. The producer says, "We just want to make sure you're aware that this is the time you have your conversations with people." And Kate's not having it. She says, "I actually think it would be worse for your show," because she's building suspense. We see the villains enter the stronghold. Joel gets a jump scare when he sees Plain Jane in her Mother Russia outfit. I'm not really sure what this look is based on. I feel like it might be Kick-Ass too, but she looks like she jumped straight out of Street Fighter or something. Pretty good. Jackie is here for Joel's stand-up gig. Too bad she can't see anything out of those stupid bedazzled glasses. The top three take their positions. Drita gives a pretty epic speech about loyalty and calling people out on their bullshit. Christine pulls out a piece of paper and everyone sighs. Kate takes a seat. She starts talking and I kind of tune out something about "forgive me, Father, for I've sinned." Plain Jane sits down. At the end of her speech, everybody seems to be sitting down. Anyway, Kate wants to make it short and sweet. She says the stats don't lie, and if they're going by stats, she should win. She then compares New York to a cat for some reason, but New York gets it because of the sardines. Kate says, "I didn't just play, I dominated." And I agree. Joel says the banished villains now have the floor, but only one of them speaks. Tyson asks a question straight from season 1 of Survivor. He says to each one of them, "If you can't win, which one of the others should and why?" I love a good Survivor jury question, but I am wondering why no one else said anything. Perhaps they were edited out? The people vote, and they come back to announce who they've voted for. Plain Jane wants Christine to know that she was lying straight to her face when she said that she had Christine's back, because that's what Christine did to her. New York says she voted for Christine because she likes a nasty-ass villain. Jackie ultimately does vote for Drita. Paul says, "Christine, making an alliance with your roommate and claiming to take them to the end before cutting them out is a villainous move." And he would have voted for her if she had just owned that fact. He's voted for Drita, which means Drita wins. She is America's ultimate supervillain. She takes her throne and puts on her crown. She says, "Kate, I knew you'd be tough competition." And to Christine, she says, "Fuck you." And they go bye-bye on the chairs. With that, we end House of Villains Season 3. And now I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I love this stupid show. Obviously, going forward, I'll still be covering Summer House, Ladies of London, and Southern Hospitality on a weekly basis. Perhaps I'll pick back up The Valley, but I also may go back to the beginning of House of Villains, because I need a ridiculous show in the mix for my own sanity. Anyway, until next time, thanks for listening. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.